Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of our favorite podcast, Podcast with Rash. Please don't hesitate to visit our YouTube page on www.podcastwithrash.com. Like, subscribe, and share our content. These podcasts tend to chronicles the activities of immigrants from Cameroon, Zimbabwe, and Somalia in UK and the city of Coventry to be precise. We tend to talk to people to tell us their stories, how they got here, how they settled in, their experiences, and all they go through, and how they weather the storm to get to the position they find themselves today. Please sit back and relax, and I'm sure you're going to have a very nice time with us today. Thank you.
Good day and welcome to another edition of our podcast. With me today is Jamaal Mohammed. He's a political scientist with coming from the law background and a geographer as well. Presently, he's also a PhD student in the prestigious University of Warwick. Mr. Jamaal, can you please introduce yourself, please?
Okay, I'm Jamaal Mohammed. I am currently doing a PhD, final year, and I've lived in the UK since 2006, and I work in the Horn of Africa, mainly Somalia. And
As a PhD student, at the same time with the kind of work you do, how do you mix it up? How do you gel along?
so I study part time. It was dragging me. I think it's about 5 years now. So I work full time. I do consultancies work. I'm mainly based in Africa, but PhDs, you don't need to go to class. So it's flexible. It's usually 7 years and 3 years for full time study. So it's a bit of working full time and studying part time. And PhD is more of a personal research. So it's flexible and it fits in the kind of work I do in the Horn of Africa.
Mr. Jama, originally, where are you from in Africa?
I'm from Somalia. My parents are from Somalia.
6, right? 2006. Coming from Somalia, and now you are in the UK. How has it impacted on your personality?
So brought up in Denmark, and let's try to connect, Somalia, where I was born, and then Denmark, where I was brought up, and then my life in the UK. I think coming to the UK was totally different than living in Denmark first. I mean, I don't know much about my life in Somalia.
Okay.
I don't know. I was very young. But most of this, whether it's in France, Austria, Österreich, and the Scandinavian countries, the UK adopted a slightly different approach. It's called multiculturalist, often called multiculturalism.
Okay.
Whilst the French adopted sort of a republican approach. What do I mean by this? This means the UK, their approach, whether it was the Indians who came here before us, so-called first generation, or the Jamaicans, they were very welcoming. So that paved the way for people like us, the third generation immigrants. It was easier because the Pakistanis, the Indians who came here already had mosques, and it was normal for the white people living here to see different cultures. And this is actually why they adopted a welcoming and multicultural approach. And this is actually why a lot of people come to the UK, because they know it is diverse, it is welcoming. So building on that, it was easier for me to go to the mosque, to even preach. I mean, even weekends, you will see, dawah centers where people go, they talk about their religion, people learn from them. And perhaps now we're in Coventry, even if you go to Birmingham, it is totally different. During the Ramadan, people are awake all night. There are food stalls, on the streets. Yes, Birmingham is totally different, yeah. So the UK actually provided the platform for people like me coming from other European countries. to strengthen their religion, because they help even the imams. They pay some money towards some of these projects. Of course, they pay some money towards the mosque projects, and of course, this all builds on the multiculturalism approach on being diverse. Their values. Often people talk of the British values. So all this is under that umbrella. So it's easier for me to go to the mosque, to go outdoors, to play football with anyone, whether he's Muslim, whether he's not Muslim, and just to mingle around with anyone, white, black, Asian, whatever, yeah?
Right. So earlier you said you even go outside to preach. So like in evangelism, right?
I don't preach. I said they even install towers where people go and preach.
Okay, not you.
Yes.
Okay. Because personally, I've not seen Muslims on the streets preaching. I've not seen.
Today is a weekend. If you go to Coventry, the job shop.
Coventry job shop.
Coventry job shop.
Okay.
Just outside there, you will see Ibrahim, who is from Nigeria, and two Pakistani guys. Ibrahim was doing that for 10 years. You probably need to interview Ibrahim. He does that every weekend. For the last 10 years, he was going there.
On Fridays?
No, Saturdays. Tomorrow go there, Saturday.
Corporation job shop.
Job shop, yeah. Coventry job shop. You will just see the stall tower. I was the only black in the whole of Martin Town. So people tell you, how are you surviving? This is how I survived. Where you go, it depends how you take it. Some people think you're a footballer. Okay, so be it then. You just chill. And then after doing all that, I came back with the experience in Coventry, the experience in the EU. I now thought I need to go back and connect back to my country, connect back to Somalia, where my parents were born and they came from. And I really wanted to see what is this, the United Nations, because when I was studying law, my first module was the 1948, after the Second World War, the universal human rights values was enshrined under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and there was this United Nations General Assembly formed. So I looked at the UN and I wanted to go and work with the UN. So I now applied for an internship in a place called Nairobi in Kenya with Human Rights Watch. So I was lucky. Now this is my third experience in Africa. Coventry, I mentioned European. And then in Nairobi now, I was working on projects, human rights projects in Somalia and Somaliland. So I worked with the team, the sort of East African unit within Human Rights Watch. And after that, I have learned a lot about the Somali governance, the Somali culture, the values, you name it, So, and then I came back to the UK, where I started my PhD program at the University of Warwick. So I started my PhD here, and then I started working with an NGO in London. So after that, I then enrolled for a second master's at the University of Leicester, looking at diplomatic studies. But this time, I was looking at something called cultural diplomacy. Because whilst I was in Somalia, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about diplomacy. But having studied in the West, I was only taught, that diplomacy, all this, started in the Greek philosophers. Diplomacy basically started in Europe. I could see, there's some cultural sort of African diplomacy, so to speak. So I enrolled in that program. It was an online, so I managed to get PGD, postgraduate diploma. But if I do a thesis, Leicester will give me a full MA. And now I'm just completing my PhD. I'm doing the write-up. And I left the UN. Finally, I ended up working with the UN, United Nations in Somalia. And it was a contract. I left. And the puzzle of my project actually came from the experiences and what I saw within the UN system. So in my PhD currently, the ongoing PhD, I argue that the whole United Nations should not be reformed, but the United Nations should be scrapped. have to end on that note.
United Nations should be scrapped.
And not reformed, yeah.
Can you please add some flesh to that? Why?
As someone who studied, I studied, as I said, international law. I studied the values of the human rights values, the first generation human rights, the second generation human rights, the universal Declaration of Human Rights, and later on the General Assembly, the United Nations was formed basically to protect and stabilize and provide forums where people mediate. The initial goal of the United Nations was to do that. I'm not saying everything about the United Nations is bad. There are things which are good to the United Nations that needs a bit of, affection, but 70% of what is happening within the United Nations is unbelievably wrong. There is a report done by Boutros Boutros-Ghali, who was an African, an Egyptian, who was the Secretary General of the United Nations. You can read it online. He's basically arguing that the United Nations should be reformed. But where we are now, the United Nations should be scrapped, or the United Nations should be a forum where people go and mediate and discuss their issues. Otherwise, what we are seeing now is not good for the common purpose it was formed. The United Nations now is politicized. The United Nations, sorry, I'm being cynical, but the United Nations is not fit for purpose. Because I worked with the United Nations, and what I saw was, the power vested within this organization is just something we cannot even discuss.
It's too much.
Yeah, the United Nations is now working in implementing projects. They're intermediaries. They basically in between donors, getting money from the donors and implement projects. So the United Nations is not meant to implement projects, but the United Nations is meant to be a forum. And I hope you understand what I mean by forum. Yeah, sorry, I think your podcast now is digressing.
Thank you very much, Jamaal. It has been a very in-depth discussion with you, and I hope you oblige us next time when we call on you. Mr. Jamaal, on a parting note, please, what would be your advice to those looking up to you or those that want to achieve similar feats like what you've done anytime soon or in the future?
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's tough. There is a lot of competition out there. And I would say, just put your head down, make sure you can make it. You need to volunteer. Volunteering is very important. If something called, so there's this, how many people did this, how many of you, blah, blah, blah. And then you go through all those reviews. The money that paying you, they will make sure you have attained a certain target. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jamaal. Nice talking to you.
We often finish university and then the next thing is you want to land a big job. It doesn't work like that, At least the places I worked in, Coventry, the case laws I was dealing with, I was doing that as a volunteer. Just so you know, I forgot to mention, just as a volunteer, I was very lucky. I forgot. I also worked with the British Red Cross in Birmingham and Coventry. So I was very lucky to have been invited at Buckingham Palace. And because I was part of this, big organization, they often go for a tea party every year in Buckingham Palace
with the Queen.
With the Queen. So by then it was a Queen, and then I was very lucky. You can imagine my manager, because what they do is it's just it's just by luck, it's by luck. I was very lucky. We were 3 from Coventry to have attended, the Garden Tea Party, it's called, where we met Charles. The Queen was there, and we interacted with different people. The whole world was there, basically. So all this comes down to the work you do as a volunteer and sacrificing. So if any one of you is listening, please make sure you volunteer. I know we often don't want to work for free. We also look for vocational placements, whether it is within the EU, whether it is in the UK. We were paid stipend. We were paid small money when we were in Slovakia. But at least for 6 months, you're getting experience. So anywhere you go now, you basically say you worked in the Ministry of Interior in Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Lithuania. Those are the 3 countries that I worked, which is within the Baltic region. And I also learned, Slovak, which is the language, because before you start there, they give you 6-7 weeks language training. So anything you do, whether it is voluntary, whether it is placements, whether it is, sometimes even some of these opportunities we go for, which is getting jobs, being employed, being paid, there are advantages that come with voluntary and vocational placements work. Yeah, because if you're given a job now, at the end of the day, your employer wants you to deliver. But if you're doing a placement or if you're doing voluntary, there's always that support. If I employ you straight away, you started working for Jaguar Land Rover tomorrow morning. Those guys, they are, what's this called? KIPS, because it's delivery. KIP is service marketing.
Hello, good evening. I'm live at Somali, a Somali restaurant that sells mostly Somali delicacies. And with me here today is a young woman from Somalia, Miriam. Miriam, please, can I meet you?
Hi, my name is Mariam.
Okay, Miriam, what are you doing here?
So I moved to Coventry with my parents. I've been living here for 15 years now.
So you've been in Coventry for the past 15 years?
15 years, yeah.
You came here with your family, with your parents, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just have some few questions for you, Miriam, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
How can you describe the journey so far, coming from Somalia to the UK? How has it impacted on your religion, your culture, stuff like that?
I would say it was a big culture shock in terms of the people in Somalia compared to the people in Coventry. So, in terms of food, religion, I've come to the conclusion that, the UK is not really a religious country compared to Somalia, where it's predominantly, mostly Muslim, if not all Muslim. So, yeah, I'll say that was a big shock for me, and the food as well. But, yeah.
So, this restaurant is a predominantly Somali restaurant.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Why am I here?
Yeah, this restaurant.
Because I've missed my Somali food. I miss the home food. So right now, as a starter, I'm just eating mofo. So that's my favorite Somali dish, yes.
Okay, mofo is a popular Somali delicacy.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So it's basically like a thin flatbread, and it's made out of fine semolina.
Wow.
And you can eat it. It depends how, people usually eat it as a starter. You can have it with your choice of meat. It just depends, really. But I like it just by itself.
Oh, okay. This mofo back home in Somalia, can you compare the taste of your mofo in Somalia, the taste you get here?
Yes, it's 100% the same.
100% the same.
Yeah, this restaurant is run by Somalis, so yeah, it just feels like I'm at home.
Wow. And is it pocket friendly? Is the price not too expensive?
Pocket friendly indeed.
Pocket friendly.
Yeah.
Wow, that was very nice. Maybe I should taste it to know.
Yeah, definitely. You should even place the order right now.
Yeah. Okay, I will do just that. So, are you in uni or you working or what do you do?
So right now I've just finished university. Actually, I graduated. Wow. I will be graduating in November this year. I studied education studies and psychology, so I joined honours. So currently at the moment I'm just working full time.
Wow, that's good. Miriam, it's nice meeting you. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank
so you can
very much.
continue with your food, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
With excerpts from Somali restaurant here in Coventry, we will be coming to the end of this episode. Thank you for listening to this podcast documentary. Quickly, before we go, let me quickly bring to you an excerpt from my visit to the All Nations Mosque here in the city of Coventry. The All Nations Mosque in Coventry is a welcoming Sunni mosque that aims to bring together individuals from all walks of life, with their services predominantly in English language. Though, according to insiders, the mosque is mainly occupied by Somalis, but they can't categorize it as an as the Somali mosque, so it's described as a mosque for everybody. But if you take a critical look at it, you discover that you have more of Somalis here at the All Nations and Center Mosque in Coventry. The mosque strives to minimize language barriers, allowing worshippers to comfortably engage in prayers and various religious activities. This mosque provides a space for solace and reflection, depending on the spiritual connection of its diverse community. In order to ensure the privacy and comfort of all worshippers, the men have their own prayer space, and the women also have their own prayer space as well. And according to them, set efforts are being made to cater for the needs of female worshippers, especially providing Hodu facilities for them. The All Nations Center also prioritizes inclusivity for individuals with mobility challenges. Though details of wishy amenities such as prayer space and audio facility, parking and toilets are not visible to me, though they said the mosque is committed to creating an accessible environment for everyone by providing the necessary resources and accommodations, equal opportunities for prayers and participation. But generally, the mosque is quite conducive. Is quite conducive for, at least for my first time of coming here. Notice that the worshippers, they are observing this Jumat service comfortably, so there is actually no problem, and everyone is getting along with the Imam as he leads the prayer. This is the mosque where our guest, Dr. Jamal, this is the mosque he worship, so I came here specifically because of what he told me about the mosque. I came here to have a first-hand information of IT here in the All Nations mosque in the bubbling city of Coventry.
Thank you very much for joining us on today's episode. Please don't hesitate to follow us on our YouTube channel, www.podcastwithrash.com. Like, share, and comment. Thank you very much. See you again same time next week. Bye.